What are the signs that you see on the horizon that a financial crisis might be headed our way?
I absolutely agree that there's going to be a major financial crisis, probably as bad or worse than the Great Depression sometime near the end of the decade. Before we get there, we're going to have, I think, the largest bull market in stocks, real estate, crypto, art, you name it, that we've ever seen since World War II. And the reason I believe that is if we back up to like 1945, essentially Europe blew itself up. China was destroyed by a civil war, and Japan, Russia essentially fought the war for everybody else, and massive destruction. So, if you look across the world, the only country that was left was the U.S. And they had a manufacturing base that was unharmed from the war, and they essentially rebuilt the war and reaped enormous benefits. And we're still, people who are American are still living off of those benefits today. But at the end of the day, everybody's sort of believing this thing called, Keynesian economics, which basically is if something gets in trouble, the government should rush in, spend money. If they don't have the money, the central bank should print it. And, everybody collectively in the world, depending, no matter if you're, what sort of ism you believe in, subscribe to this theory. And what that means is, we all have collectively agreed that the government is there essentially to attempt to remove the business cycle. Like there should never be bad things that happen to the economy. And if there are, we want the government to come in and essentially destroy the free market. So every time we've had a financial crisis over the last, 80 years, what happens? The government rushes in and they essentially destroy some part of the free market because they want to, save the system. And what does that mean? It's like whack-a-mole. So every time there's a disturbance, the central banks, like the Federal Reserve in the U.S., they come in, they print money, they enact a bunch of regulations, and they basically say, okay, we don't want this sector to fail. We don't want, the creative destruction that is so-called, capitalism, if you actually believe in that. We don't want that. And every 5-7 years, there's another sector of the economy that's essentially price fixed. And so we've gotten to this point where globally central banks have basically destroyed the free pricing mechanism in just about every single sector of the financial economy except for one, which is the government bond markets, because they're so large, so unruly that it's practically impossible to essentially remove the market forces from this part of the market. But the problem is right now we're going to try. We've gone from 100% debt to GDP globally to about 360% as per the World Bank, and we are accelerating the amount of debt that we're adding onto the pile. Why? Because in the rich world, including China, Russia, and Brazil, we've stopped having enough kids, so the population is actually declining. So if you have all this debt and you don't have more humans being born to essentially do stuff to pay it back, the only way to ensure the system is solvent is for the governments and the central banks to start printing money. And now we've gotten to the situation where we have all this debt that needs to be rolled over. We have a population that has been told that, hey, you're good. Anything ever happens, we, the government, are going to come in and we're going to make sure that, you have enough food to eat, you got health care, we're going to protect you, blah, 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 right? And all that's expensive, especially as you have less and less humans who are doing productive stuff. And so we're just going to keep adding on debt because that's the only way the government can stay in business. And now we've gotten to the situation where there's so much debt and it's accelerating in an exponential fashion, that in order to save the market this time, right? So I think in the next 3 to 6 months, there's going to be some sort of major market disturbance, and probably in the U.S. Treasury or other large global bond markets. And the solution is going to be, let's print the most money that we've ever printed to try to save essentially this fiat financial system that we've created since World War II, which is going to, in the first instance, create a massive bull market in anything, like stocks, crypto, real estate, things that have a fixed supply. Maybe they're productive, they have some earnings. And then after that, we're going to find out actually the government can't save everything. They can't just print as much money as they think to try to save themselves and fix the price of the yield of their bonds, and we're going to get a generational collapse. And hopefully that doesn't coincide with a major global conflict. Usually it does. I hope it doesn't, because I don't really want to live through World War III while I'm alive. But that's sort of my overarching like macro cycle thesis. So, massive top 2026 timeframe, and then some sort of Great Depression like situation happening towards the end of the decade. If we want to take a look at the progress of human civilization of the past 150, 200 years, it's all predicated on hydrocarbons. The moment we started extracting oil commercially out of the ground and turning it into thousands of different products that we all use every day that basically powers our modern life, development supercharged, right? We went from, I don't know how many billions of people in the 1970s to today, a population more than doubled, right? And that's all because we were able to harness this particular type of potential energy of the earth that's underneath us. Okay, and we've piled on all this debt, we've brought forward all this future growth, and we haven't really innovated on another form of energy that makes us that much more productive. Maybe if the world started adopting nuclear today, immediately, like small nuclear reactors in our cars, our apartments powered by nuclear energy, maybe we'd have a chance at growing our way out of this debt. Or, if there's some magical alien that comes down and gives us, some basic resource that allows us to tap a new source of energy and like we can commercialize it instantaneously, yes, then we could pay back all this money. Or if the population doubled overnight, right, to 16 billion people, then okay, great. We've built all this stuff. There's more people that need to use it. Okay, we can pay back this debt. But barring any of these, I like to say it takes 18 years to make an 18-year-old. So it's pretty much impossible to create humans out of thin air, no matter what any politician tells you. And, we're not really, what we seem to be doing is, in certain countries, is saying, hydrocarbons are worthless. We want to use these other forms of energy that are less dense, less productive, and somehow think that we're going to grow our way out of this debt, which is mathematically impossible. There's just no other way, if the government wants to save itself by it, than printing money. And printing money isn't growth. It's just a piece of paper out of thin air. And once the population thinks, hey, there's more and more of these pieces of paper floating around, there's only so many real goods. There's only so much oil. There's only so much electricity. Well, I guess I should be consuming everything I can now. That's not actually generating real growth. If we could just print our money and generate real growth, then Rome would have survived. Zimbabwe would be the richest country in the world. Same with Argentina. We've had, the Weimar Republic in Germany. Like, if this was the answer, there's plenty of other, societies that have tried this, and the result was always the same: massive inflation, and then social unrest and collapse of the government. So I think we've proven over thousands of years of human history that printing money is not growth. It's a chimera, and at the party it lasts for only so long, and then it's bad news bears.
This is the thing that really freaks me out about what Ray Dalio is talking about, is the predictability of this cycle. And what I want to do, you're really good at explaining this. I want to go through the different things that build up to this moment, this inevitable moment. And then one of the things I want to make sure we talk about later is getting the timing right on this is next to impossible. And so that's going to loom in the background. But first, I just want to go through the things. Now, you said that you hope that this doesn't all happen in a moment of political instability, but I would like to quote Arthur Hayes here real fast. This is the opening line from one of your recent articles. You said, World War III has already begun, whether the mainstream media and political elite wish to acknowledge it or not. So let's talk about the political instability. We're going to get to the debt. We're going to get to the banking crisis, inflation, all of that. But set the context for us right now. What's happening right now that unnerves you from a political standpoint?
So for whatever reason, and I don't know why, Western Europe starting and then America following has it in for Russia. And if you read I think it's Mackinder, his global home island theory that he wrote, I want to say in the early 20th or end of the 19th century, whatever. He was a very famous war strategist, and he basically said that the home island is essentially Eurasia, right? So think of China, Russia, Western Europe, right? Whoever controls that portion of the world controls the world.
If you like that clip, check out another powerful clip right here, and I'll see you there.